Your inheritance is $100. That's all you'll get from this family until you learn respect, my father announced, sliding the crisp bill across his mahogany desk like he was signing my death warrant. 20 years later, I stood in the same office, watching him beg for a fraction of my fortune, while my siblings calculated how much they could extract from their newly returned billionaire brother. Did they really think money would make me forget why I left with only Benjamin Franklin as my companion? The office hadn't changed. Same burgundy walls, same portrait of great-grandfather Hawthorne glowering down at everyone who entered. But the man behind the desk had shrunk, his once commanding presence diminished by age and poor decisions. My mother perched on her usual settee, though the velvet had worn thin. Richard lounged in the leather wingback, trying to project confidence despite the sweat staining his collar. Patricia stood by the window, her third wedding ring catching light as she twisted it nervously. "Marcus, son, please understand," my father continued, his hands trembling, not from age, but from desperation. "The family business is failing. Your brother's gambling debts, your sister's third divorce settlement, the lawsuits. We need your help." "The lawsuits?" I asked, though I already knew. My investigators had been thorough. Father shifted uncomfortably. "Former employees. Wrongful termination suits. Sexual harassment claims against Richard. Discrimination complaints. Our lawyers say we'll need at least $10 million to settle out of court." $15 million, Richard corrected, then caught himself. "I mean, allegedly. It's all lies, of course." "Of course," I said dryly. "Just like Patricia's insider trading charges are misunderstandings." Patricia whirled from the window. "How did you know? I make it my business to know everything about potential investments. And this family is asking for a very large investment." "We're not asking for an investment," Mother interjected from her settee. "We're asking for help. From family." "You gave me $100, I said quietly. "Said if I couldn't live by this family's rules, I could live by that." "That was tough love." Mother's voice rose. "We wanted to teach you discipline. You were throwing your life away for that girl." "Her name was Maria," I said. "Maria Rodriguez. And yes, I was willing to throw away a life of bigotry and prejudice for love." "She was beneath you," Father said, even now unable to hide his disgust. "A waitress. Mexican. Catholic. Everything the Hawthorne name doesn't represent." "Everything the Hawthorne name doesn't represent," I repeated slowly. "Hardworking. Honest. Loyal. Kind. You're right. She was everything you weren't." "That's all in the past," Richard said quickly, sweating through his expensive suit. "We're family, Marcus. Family forgives." "Family," I repeated, tasting the word like wine gone to vinegar. "Let me tell you about family." I pulled out my phone and showed them a photo. "This is the Rodriguez family. When I showed up in Los Angeles with nothing but $100 in the clothes on my back, they gave me a job in their restaurant. Minimum wage, but they fed me. Let me sleep in the storage room until I could afford rent. Taught me Spanish. Treated me like a son." "That's heartwarming," Patricia said impatiently, "but we're talking about real family here. Blood." "Blood." I laughed. "You want to talk about blood?" I bled plenty those first months. Cut my hands washing dishes until they were raw. Got jumped twice walking home late at night through bad neighborhoods. Lost a tooth I couldn't afford to fix for 3 years. Where was my blood family then? Silence. "Maria Rodriguez. The girl you all said would drag me down. She tutored me through community college while working 2 jobs. Stayed up with me until 3 a.m. drilling math concepts into my thick skull. Her father, Miguel, co-signed my first business loan when no bank would touch me. Her mother, Rosa, nursed me through pneumonia when I had no insurance, sitting by my bedside for 3 days straight." "So you married the girl?" Richard sneered. "Congratulations. You proved your point. Now can we discuss the family trust?" "I didn't marry her. I said, watching confusion ripple across their faces. Maria died. Leukemia. 5 years after I left home. She was 24. The silence that filled the room was different now, heavier. The treatments bankrupted her family. I continued. Everything they'd saved, gone. They even mortgaged the restaurant. I watched the woman I loved waste away, while her family destroyed themselves trying to save her. You know what your family did during that time? Patricia got married the first time. To that pharmaceutical executive. I wasn't invited, of course. Patricia had the decency to look away. Before she died, Maria made me promise something, I said. To use whatever success I found to help families like hers. Immigrants, working poor. People you cross the street to avoid. People who understood that wealth wasn't about what you had, but what you give. Marcus, that's noble. But, Father started. The Rodriguez family invested everything in my first startup, I interrupted. Their life savings. $30,000 they'd scraped together from mortgaging their restaurant. You know what this family invested? A $100 bill and a lecture about knowing my place. We couldn't have known you'd become successful, Mother protested. No, you couldn't have. Because you never tried to know me at all. You saw a son who wouldn't conform, so you tried to starve me into submission. And look how well it worked out. Patricia gestured at my tailored suit. You're worth billions now. The tough love made you strong. The tough love nearly killed me, I said flatly. 3 times. Once from starvation. I collapsed at work and woke up in the ER. Once from infection. I couldn't afford antibiotics for a cut that went septic. Once from despair, standing on the Colorado Street Bridge at 3 a.m., wondering if anyone would even notice I was gone. Mother's hand went to her throat. You never said. I tried. I called. I wrote letters those first months, swallowing my pride, begging for help. They came back unopened. Richard, you emailed me once. Do you remember what you said? Richard's face flushed. You made your choice when you picked those people over your real family. Don't contact us again. Those people. The ones who saved my life while you were writing me off. But you survived. Father said, as if that justified everything. And thrived. Now you can help. Let me tell you what happened after Maria died. I continued. Her family was destroyed. Medical bills, funeral costs. They lost the restaurant. But by then, my first company had taken off. You know what I did? I bought them a house. Set up college funds for Maria's siblings. Made Miguel my business partner. That's generous, Mother said carefully. But surely now you can extend that generosity to your real family. My real family? I pulled out more photos. This is James Chen. Found him homeless, addicted. I paid for his rehab. Gave him a job in the mailroom. Now he runs my Shanghai office. This is Sarah Williams. Single mom I met at a food bank when I was volunteering. Brilliant mind trapped by circumstances. Now she's my CFO. This is Derek Thompson. Ex-con who couldn't get work. Made one mistake at 19. Paid for it for 20 years. Runs my security now. You gave positions to criminals and addicts over your own blood. Richard was incredulous. I gave positions to people who proved themselves. Who showed loyalty, dedication, growth. What have you shown me except your ability to spend money you didn't earn? How dare you? Patricia started. Your third divorce, Patricia. How much did that cost, Father? 2 million? 3? And Richard, your gambling debts. The ones Father keeps paying off to avoid scandal. How much now? 5 million. 10. 8 million, Father said quietly. Plus what we've paid to keep it out of the papers. And you. I turned to my parents. You've burned through the family fortune maintaining appearances. The country club memberships you can't afford. The charity galas where you pledge money you don't have. The house you're mortgaged to the hilt. How do you know all this? Father demanded. Because unlike you, I do my research before making investments. And this family? You're a bad investment. We're not asking for an investment, Mother said desperately. We're asking for help. For family. The Rodriguez family never asked for help, I said. They offered it. Every immigrant family in their neighborhood, they helped. Lending money they couldn't spare. Sharing food when they barely had enough. Teaching English in their spare time. That's family. So you'll help strangers but not us? Patricia's voice turned shrill. Let me ask you something, I said. In 20 years, have any of you ever once wondered if you were wrong? If maybe love mattered more than lineage? If maybe Maria and I could have been happy? The silence stretched. We did what we thought was best, Father finally said. The Hawthorne name. The Hawthorne name, I interrupted, was built by a slave trader. Our fortune came from human misery. Great-grandfather Hawthorne, the one in that portrait you worship. He owned 3 plantations. Our legacy is blood and suffering. That was a different time, Mother started. And what's our legacy now? Sexual harassment, insider trading, discrimination lawsuits. The Hawthorne name you were so proud of is synonymous with corruption. You preserved the worst parts of our history and called it tradition. You're being dramatic, Richard muttered. Am I? Tell me, Richard, why did Rebecca Chen file charges against you? Richard's face went red. That was a misunderstanding. You cornered her in the copy room. When she refused your advances, you had her fired. Just like great-great-grandfather would have done to a slave who displeased him. The Hawthorne tradition lives on. Enough. Father slammed his hand on the desk. We've made mistakes. We admit it. But we're still your family. Doesn't that count for something? It counted for everything once, I admitted. Those first nights in Leh, sleeping on a cot in a storage room that smelled like cilantro and industrial cleaner, I'd have given anything to come home. To hear you say you were wrong, that you loved me regardless. We do love you, Mother said, tears in her eyes. You love what I've become. You love my bank account. But me? Marcus, who chose love over lineage. Marcus, who saw people as more than their net worth. That Marcus you threw away with yesterday's garbage. People change, Patricia said quietly. We could change. Could you? Then prove it. I'll make you the same offer I make all my charitable cases. I'll match what you invest. You put in effort. I'll put in money. What kind of effort? Richard asked suspiciously. Community service, real work. Richard, you'll spend 6 months working in a gambling addiction center. Live on a counselor's salary. Understand what your addiction looks like from the other side. Patricia, you'll volunteer at a women's shelter, help other divorcees rebuild. Use your skills for something besides shopping. And us? Mother asked. You'll sell this house. Downsize to something you can actually afford. Then you'll work with immigrant families, help them start businesses. Teach them the things you know. Accounting, networking, navigating bureaucracy. Give them the chances you never gave me. That's preposterous, Father roared. We're not charity cases. We're your family. No, I said simply. You're my blood relatives. There's a difference. Family shows up when you're at your lowest. Family sacrifices for each other. Family sees potential, not pedigree. You're punishing us, Mother accused. For one mistake 20 years ago. One mistake. I pulled out a folder. Shall I read the letters? The ones I sent the first year, begging for help when I was starving. The ones returned unopened. Or the email from Richard, saying I deserved whatever happened for choosing those people over my real family. Or maybe, I continued, flipping pages, the private investigator's report. The one showing you hired him to find me after my first company went public. Not to reconcile, to see if you could contest my ownership since I started it while technically still a Hawthorne. We were advised that we might have a claim, Father said stiffly. By the same lawyer who's now defending Richard against sexual harassment charges. How's that working out? So what now? Father asked, defeat creeping into his voice. You'll let us lose everything. I'll give you the same thing you gave me, I said, pulling out my wallet. $100 and a chance to prove yourselves. The community service offer stands. Show me you can think about someone other than yourselves, and we'll talk. This is humiliating, Patricia spat. No, I corrected. Humiliating is eating ketchup packets for dinner because it's all you have. Humiliating is wearing shoes held together with duct tape to job interviews. Humiliating is begging your family for help and being told you made your choice. Humiliating, I continued, is watching the woman you love die in a charity ward because her family spent everything trying to save her. Knowing that if my family had just accepted her, accepted us, I could have helped sooner. Could have afforded better doctors, experimental treatments, hope. You can't blame us for her death, Mother whispered. No, I blame you for my absence from your lives. Maria's death just clarified what I'd lost when you threw me away. Not money or status, the chance to share my life with people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. I headed for the door, then turned back. You know what the real irony is? If you just once, shown me kindness in those early days, I'd have given you everything. The Rodriguez family owns 30% of my company. James, Sarah, Derek, they all have equity, because they were there when I had nothing. We're sorry, Mother said, tears finally genuine. We were wrong. We were proud and stupid and... You were exactly who you'd always been, I interrupted. The only difference now is you need something from the son you threw away. So you won't help us? Father's voice was hollow. I'll help you the same way you helped me. With conditions, ultimatums, and just enough to survive if you follow my rules. The difference is, my rules involve helping others instead of maintaining a facade. And if we refuse? I shrugged. Then you'll learn what I learned. That sometimes, starting over with nothing is the only way to discover who you really are. And who knows? Maybe you'll build something real this time. Something based on work and merit instead of name and privilege. You're enjoying this, Richard accused. No, I said honestly. I'm heartbroken. 20 years ago, I would have given anything for my family to accept me. To love me for who I was instead of who they wanted me to be. But you couldn't see past your prejudices. Now you can't see past my bank account. I placed the $100 bill on the desk. This is what you gave me to start my life. I'm giving you the same chance. The community centers are expecting you if you choose to show up. The choice is yours. I left them there, in their crumbling mansion with their crumbling egos, and drove to the only home I'd ever truly known. A modest house in East Leigh, where the Rodriguez family still lived. The house I bought them was nice but not ostentatious, in the same neighborhood where they'd always belonged. Miguel answered the door, his face lighting up. Mijo, you're early. I had a meeting that ended sooner than expected, I said, hugging him. With those people. He never called them my family. To him, I was one of his children, no different from his biological kids. They need money, I said simply. And you said no. It wasn't a question. I offered them the same chance they gave me. Work for it. He nodded approvingly. Come. Rosa made mole. The kids want to hear about your trip to Tokyo. As I sat at their dinner table, surrounded by Maria's siblings and their children, all calling me Tio Marcus, I thought about the family I'd left behind in their empty mansion. They'd probably spend hours dissecting my offer, finding it insulting, beneath them. Or maybe, just maybe, one of them would take that $100 and catch a bus to the community center. Maybe they'd discover what I'd learned 20 years ago, that sometimes losing everything is the only way to find what really matters. But that was their choice to make. I'd made mine 20 years ago with a $100 bill and a broken heart. It had led me here, to this table, this family, this life built on love instead of legacy. Maria's photo smiled at me from the wall, surrounded by pictures of the family we'd both loved. She'd been right that first night when she'd held my hand and told me I'd make it. I had made it. Not because I'd accumulated billions, but because I'd learned the difference between relatives who share your blood and family who share your values. The Hawthorne family had given me $100 and shown me the door. The Rodriguez family had given me love and shown me what home really meant. In the end, I'd returned the favor to both.